Looking at Nitya Gopal, the master said to the devotees, "He is in a lofty mood." To Nitya Gopal, "Don't go there too often. You may go once in a while. She may be a devotee, but she is a woman too. Therefore I warn you." The sannyasi must observe very strict discipline. He must not look even at the picture of a woman. But this rule does not apply to householders. An aspirant should not associate with a woman, even though she is very much devoted to God. A sannyasi, even though he may have subdued his passions, should follow this discipline to set an example to householders. Worldly people learn renunciation by seeing the complete renunciation of a monk. Otherwise they sink more and more. A sannyasi is a worldly teacher. Friday, March 9, 1883. Life of Worldliness. About 9 o'clock in the morning, the master was seated in his room with Rakhal M. and a few other devotees. It was the day of the new moon. As usual with him, on such days Sri Ramakrishna entered again and again into communion with the Divine Mother. He said to the devotees, "God alone exists and all else is unreal. The Divine Mother has kept all deluded by her Maya. Look at men, most of them are entangled in worldliness. They suffer so much, but still they have the same attachment to women and gold. The camel eats thorny shrubs and blood gushes from its mouth, still it will eat thorns. While suffering pain at the time of delivery, a woman says, 'Ah, I shall never go to my husband again,' but afterwards she forgets. The truth is that no one seeks God. There are people who eat the prickly leaves of the pineapple and not the fruit." Devotee: "Sir, why has God put us in the world?" Master: "The world is the field of action. Through action one acquires knowledge. The Guru instructs the disciple to perform certain works and refrain from others. Again he advises the pupil to perform action without desiring the result. The impurity of the mind is destroyed through the performance of duty. It is like getting rid of a disease by means of medicine under the instruction of a competent physician. Why doesn't God free us from the world? Aha, He will free us when the disease is cured. He will liberate us from the world when we are through with the enjoyment of women and gold. Once a man registers his name in the hospital, he cannot run away. The doctor will not let him go away unless his illness is completely cured." Master's love for Rakhal. During these days, Sri Ramakrishna's heart overflowed with motherly love, like the love Yashoda felt for Krishna, so he kept Rakhal with him. Rakhal felt towards the master as a child feels towards its mother. He would sit leaning on the master's lap as a young child leans on its mother while sucking her breast. Rakhal was thus seated by the master when a man entered the room and said that a high tide was coming in the Ganges. The master and the devotees ran to the Panchvati to see it. At the sight of a boat being tossed by the tide, Sri Ramakrishna exclaimed, "Look, look, I hope nothing happens to it." They all sat in the Panchvati. The master asked M to explain the cause of the tide. M drew on the ground the figures of the sun, moon and earth and tried to explain gravitation, ebb tide, flood tide, new moon, full moon, eclipse and so forth. Master to M: "Stop it, I can't follow you. It makes me dizzy. My head is aching." "Well, how can they know of things so far off? You see, during my childhood I could paint well, but arithmetic would make my head spin. I could not learn simple arithmetic." Sri Ramakrishna returned to his room with the devotees. Looking at a picture of Yashoda on the wall, he said, "It is not well done. She looks like a garland seller." Adhar's first visit. The master enjoyed a nap after his noon meal. Adhar and other devotees gradually gathered. This was Adhar's first visit. He was a deputy magistrate and about 30 years old. Much reasoning condemned. Adhar to the master: "Sir, I have a question to ask. Is it good to sacrifice animals before the deity? It certainly involves killing." Master: "The Shastra prescribes sacrifice on special occasions. Such sacrifice is not harmful. Take for instance the sacrifice of a goat on the 8th day of the full or new moon. I am now in such a state of mind that I cannot watch a sacrifice. Also, I cannot eat meat offered to the Divine Mother. Therefore, I first touch my finger to it. then to my head, lest she should be angry with me. Again, in a certain state of mind, I see God in all beings, even in an ant. At that time, if I see a living being die, I find consolation in the thought that it is the death of the body, the soul being beyond life and death. One should not reason too much. It is enough if one loves the lotus feet of the mother. Too much reasoning throws the mind into confusion. You get clear water if you drink from the surface of a pool. Put your hand deeper and stir the water and it becomes muddy. Therefore pray to God for devotion. Behind Dhruv's devotion there was desire. He practiced austerities to gain his father's kingdom, but Prahlad's love for God was motiveless, a love that sought no return. A devotee. How can one realize God? Master, through that kind of love. But one must force one's demand on God. One should be able to say, O God, wilt thou not reveal thyself to me? I will cut my throat with a knife. This is the tamas of bhakti. Devotee, can one see God? Master, yes, surely one can see both aspects of God, God with form and without form. One can see God with form, the embodiment of spirit. Again, God can be directly perceived in a man with a tangible form. Seeing an incarnation of God is the same as seeing God himself. God is born on earth as man in every age. March 11, 1883, Master's birthday celebration. It was Sri Ramakrishna's birthday. Many of his disciples and devotees wanted to celebrate the happy occasion at the Dakshineshwar temple garden. From early morning the devotees streamed in, alone or in parties. After the morning worship in the temple, sweet music was played in the Nahabad. It was springtime. The trees, creepers and plants were covered with new leaves and blossoms. The very air seemed laden with joy, and the hearts of the devotees were glad on this auspicious day. M arrived early in the morning and found the master talking smilingly to Bhavnath, Rakhal and Kali Krishna. M prostrated himself before him. Master to M, I am glad you have come. To the devotees, one cannot be spiritual as long as one has shame, hatred or fear. Great will be the joy today, but those fools who will not sing or dance, mad with God's name, will never attain God. How can one feel any shame or fear when the names of God are sung? Now sing all of you. Bhavnath and his friend Kali Krishna sang. Thrice blessed is this day of joy to preach thy true religion here in India's holy land. Thou dwellest in each human heart. Thy name resounding everywhere fills the four corners of the sky. Today thy devotees proclaim thy boundless majesty. We seek not wealth, nor friends, nor fame. O Lord, no other hope is ours. For thee alone thy devotees long with unflagging love. Safe at thy feet, what fear have we of death or danger? We have found the fount of immortality. To thee the victory, O Lord, to thee the victory. As Sri Ramakrishna listened to the song with folded hands, his mind soared to a far-off realm. He remained absorbed in meditation a long time. After a while, Kali Krishna whispered something to Bhavnath. Then he bowed before the master and rose. Sri Ramakrishna was surprised. He asked, "Where are you going?" Bhavnath, "He is going away on a little business." Master, "What is it about?" Bhavnath, "He is going to the Barangor Working Men's Institute." Master, "It's his bad luck. A stream of bliss will flow here today. He could have enjoyed it, but how unlucky. Sri Ramakrishna did not feel well, so he decided not to bathe in the Ganges. About 9 o'clock, a few jars of water were taken from the river, and with the help of the devotees, he finished his bath on the veranda east of his room. After bathing, the master put on a new wearing cloth, all the while chanting the name of God. Accompanied by 1 or 2 disciples, he walked across the courtyard to the temple of Kali, still chanting her hallowed name. His eyes had an indrawn look, like that of a bird hatching her eggs. On entering the temple, he prostrated himself before the image and worshipped the Divine Mother, but he did not observe any ritual of worship. Now he would offer flowers and sandal paste at the feet of the image and now he would put them on his own head. After finishing the worship in his own way, he asked Bhavanath to carry the green coconut that had been offered to the mother. He also visited the images of Radha and Krishna in the Vishnu temple.